This is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, or more precisely, the box it comes in. Today we're going to do a quick unboxing video. I'll show you what's in the box. We'll also do a quick walk through the menus, and finally I'll show you some footage that I recently shot with my camera. Okay, so let's open the box up. The first thing you see is this really neat welcome pack. For any of you guys that have ever had Blackmagic cameras, their packaging is really well made. You get a little SD card with a manual. You also get a really nice kind of a message, a thank you message from Graham Petty, the CEO of the company. Overall, again, this is really standard stuff. You do get your battery, which is a Canon LPE6 type battery. This is actually a Blackmagic made battery, I guess, or at least is branded this way. It's a 2000 milliamp hours battery, 7.4 volts. So this kind of battery usually should give you about, they say about an hour, but in my experience, you get about half an hour to 40 minutes, depending on how you shoot and what you shoot with it. Okay, so moving on to the big feature here of this box, apart from the camera, of course, is DaVinci Resolve 15 Studio. Now, this is the paid version of Resolve. If you guys remember the original Pocket camera, which was released a few years back, it didn't come with the paid version of Resolve. Now this one does, just like the Ursa Mini Pro, the Ursa Mini, and the other bigger cameras and more expensive cameras that Blackmagic sells. The Pocket Cinema Camera 4K comes with the paid version of Resolve, which is absolutely awesome. This saves you £300/dollars to buy, which is really nice. So next we get the AC adapter/charger. This is a 2-pin limo looking style connector, which goes on the side of the camera. In my opinion, is a huge improvement compared to the original Pocket camera, which, if you guys remember, had just a very tiny, it wasn't even locking kind of connector, which you could take out inadvertently and prevent your camera from either charging the battery inside or actually getting power from the wall. So with this AC adapter, obviously you get power from the wall if you want to run the camera via mains if you're in a studio. So these are the 4 adapters which are included in the box. Depending on where you live in the world, select the appropriate one for you, slot it into the groove, and it kind of clicks. It's really easy and neat. And there's a little button here on the middle. I just want to make sure you guys can see it. You press it with your thumb and it just pops up. So if you're traveling to Europe or Asia or any other part of the world, these 4 adapters should be good for most places. Okay, so where's the camera? Well, there it is. It's on the bottom here. It's actually at the lower shelf. And the first thing you would notice is this finish. It's really nice to hold. This is a, I guess, a polycarbonate material. They made this, they chose this material because they wanted to make the camera very light, and indeed this is for its size, this is much lighter than expected. My 5D Mark IV is, I wouldn't say probably the same size, it's definitely not as long, but it is much heavier than this camera, and this is really nice. I really like this, this shape. The grip is comfortable. As you can see, the back here, you get this giant, very much like a smartphone monitor, and it's touchscreen. This display is absolutely beautiful. It's full HD, really responsive to kind of the touch. And I'll power the camera in a second and show you guys. You get your multifunction buttons. There's 3 of them here. 1, 2, 3. You can program different camera features to that. You get a 3.5 jack in, audio jack. That's for your Rode, if you want to use something like a Rode VideoMic Pro, and you also get headphones output to monitor audio, and you get a full-size HDMI output. For any of you coming from a GH5, GH5S style camera, this is brilliant, and you know how good this is and how useful this is. So on the bottom, you get your locking connector. This is the 2-pin 12-volt input. This is to charge the camera or plug it into the mains to power it. You get a mini XLR input, and this is for audio, and the USB Type-C input, which is very important because this one allows you to record on a external SSD, which is absolutely brilliant. And on this side, the right side of the camera, we get the media slots. Very much like a DSLR camera, although I kind of find, maybe because this camera is only a week old, this is my personal camera and I've only used it a few times, it's a bit difficult to open. I'm not sure, the grip here is not very good, so you have to really kind of force it, but obviously try not to break it, and it took me a while to get used to it. But anyway, here are the 2 slots. You get CFast 2.0 and an SD XC UHS 2 slot for SD cards, which is very nice and very neat. So you do need to have really fast cards though. That's the one thing, but we'll do a separate video for which cards are compatible, which cards I've tested, and all that jazz. Now, CFast 2.0, I've only used SanDisk Extreme. Extreme Pro, I guess that's what the model is, Series D and B, which are for the C300 Mark II, which I already have. And I was able to use those CFast cards into this camera. They work absolutely flawlessly. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the menu. So the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. The menu button is here, it's on the side. It's above the playback button. It's got 3 little lines on it. So by pressing it, we're greeted with the first kind of default section of the menu. It's the record, I guess, sub-menu. And in here, you get a chance to choose your recording format, whether you'll be recording in ProRes or RAW. So in RAW, you have 3 options: lossless, 3:1, and 4:1, which are the different compressions. And you also get a choice of resolution, 3 resolutions. The top one, 4K DCI, which uses the full sensor, full micro four thirds sensor, and records in 4096 by 2160, which is the DCI spec for 4K or Cinema 4K. You also get Ultra HD, which is 3840 by 2160. Same vertical as DCI, but slightly shorter on the sides. One thing to mention is there's a slight sensor crop on here, obviously because it cuts the side portions compared to 4K DCI, which uses the full chip. However, the biggest drop in terms of a crop, actually I should say, comes in Full HD, which is here. And this is because the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K doesn't downscale from 4K to Full HD when you're recording RAW. It actually uses the center portion of the sensor, which gives you roughly 2 times crop. Maybe it's even a little bit larger. I have not tested it yet, but it is significant, meaning that if you use, let's say, 18mm lens in 4K DCI, which uses the full sensor, if you flip to HD, you'll automatically get a crop. It'll be something like a 36 or even a 38mm. So the wide end is going to be pretty difficult if you do RAW in Full HD. So it's recommended to do it in 4K and then in post deliver your RAW. ProRes comes in ProRes HQ, 422, LT, and Proxy. Proxy being the smallest file, HQ being the largest. All are the 10-bit options, 10-bit 422. You don't get any 444 or XQ options in here. However, 10-bit 422 ProRes HQ and 422 especially should be pretty good. I mean, should be sufficient for most workflows, regardless whether they're 4K or Full HD. Later in the video, I'll show you some actually ProRes LT footage that I shot in 4K and then downsampled to HD for this video, so you can kind of gauge the quality, albeit with the YouTube compression. You get 4 options, the same options for resolution: 4K DCI, Ultra HD, or ProRes. Again, if you look on the bottom here, there's 3 dots, which means that there's more options, more submenus in this menu here. On the top here, you can choose the dynamic range. You can shoot in film, which is the flat gamma profile that Blackmagic has developed. It's their own kind of log, which they call BMD film. When you're in RAW, you are automatically recording in that. You can't select any of the other 2 options, but if you do record in ProRes in camera, you can choose whether you want to kind of bake in a Rec 709 look, which is the video, or extended video, which gives you a little bit softer highlight roll-off, and it's not as aggressive as video. So if you want to deliver the files to a producer straight out of the camera and they don't want to do any post work whatsoever, choose extended video. That's going to bake in that look. On the bottom here, you get obviously the options of your project frame rate. So that's very important. You can choose 24, 25p. You can do 2997 if you're in the States and or NTSC country. You can do 30 frames per second, and you can do 50 or 60. So it's very important to know that this is actually the project frame rate. This is not your slow-mo. Your slow-mo's here on the side. Usually you'll be doing either 24, 2398 if you're in the States. You'll be doing true 24 or 25p. Here, the second option is for off-speed recording, which is again your slow motion. So if we toggle that, you can automatically set the camera to a slow motion option. So in my case, I've done it to 60. You can do it to 50 or even stranger frames like 46 or 48. I know some people coming especially from the red world, they like to do 48 frames per second. If you want to do 60, for example, that's fine. You can do that from here. And if we exit out of here for a second, just want to show you real quick. Here we have the FPS indicator shows 60/25, which means we're recording right now in 60 frames without windowing the sensor but our project rate is 25p, and you can toggle that from this button here. So by hitting the HFR button one time, you're automatically just in 25p. Hit it one more time, you're in 60. And again, you can change those in here. Using a window sensor mode gives you access to the highest frame rates, which is in full HD, which goes 60 and beyond. So those are a maximum of 120 frames per second. And you can set that from here. On the bottom, you get the preferred media for recording, either CFast, SD, or you can actually record to the fullest card. So whichever card has most data on it, you will record on it, which I believe is, in my opinion, is very useful. Another option here on the bottom is that you can set it to, if the camera detects that it drops frames, for example, if you don't have that fast of a card and you're trying to record RAW, for example, if it detects the drop frame, it will automatically stop recording so as not to ruin your file. You can turn it off though. I haven't really tried that, but it's pretty self-explanatory, and I suggest you guys leave it on just in case, and this way you will kind of see when you're dropping frames. Okay, so moving over to the second portion of the menu, which is the monitoring section. Here you get a choice of settings for your LCD, your HDMI output, or both at the same time. Going over the LCD, the touchscreen display here, it gives you an option to do a clean feed with no kind of information whatsoever. You can also display your 3D LUT that you've selected, whether that's extended video, or a third-party 3D LUT that you've imported or your own. You also do get a choice of zebra. You can do focus assist, frame guides, grid, safe areas, and false color. Those can also be adjusted here from the function buttons, the 3 function buttons on the top, and you can also control these from this little icon here, which is on the top right hand corner. You can toggle between zebras on and off. You can do focus assist, frame guides. You can also do kind of your grids, whether you want to do thirds or cross chairs or center dot. And in here you can do safe area as well. And lastly but not least, you can do false color. Here I don't have a lens attached, so it's showing all blue. But that's because I wanted to make sure that you guys can actually see these a little bit better, because I'm here on a white background and it's going to be a bit difficult to see otherwise. Okay, moving over to the audio side of things. This is, again, very intuitive. You have to choose your source here, whether you're going to record in camera with using the camera microphones. You have a choice, obviously, to not record audio at all, or if you want to do the 3.5 mic on the side, left or right. And you can also choose whether you want to go through the XLRs. It's the same thing on both sides, left or right. Here you can have the kind of channel gain. You can adjust it all the way from 0 to 100. Again, super intuitive, very easy to navigate, very responsive, very much like a smartphone. I mean, regardless whether you're using Android or iOS, this is super touch sensitive. Okay, I'm moving over to the next one. The next window is kind of your setup. This is where you would set your kind of language, your date, whether you want to see your shutter speed displayed as an angle, for example, like 180 degrees, or shutter speed like 1/50th. Also the kind of a flicker frame rate, depending on your country or your region. For example, I'm in the UK, so over here we're at 50 Hertz. If you're in the States, for example, you'll need to select 60 Hertz to kind of prevent flicker when you're shooting inside with fluorescence or some LEDs on the streets or things like that. This is a very interesting screen, which I haven't really kind of dug into, but you can import like your own presets for, let's say you're using the camera for music video, and you kind of have your own specific settings in here. So you can have up to 12 that you can import, and you can select, and boom, everything is kind of like a custom menu of sorts. The last window here is your LUTs. Here you can choose to monitor film into extended video, or to a Rec 2020 kind of hybrid low gamma, HLG, or PQ. You also have here at the end the normal kind of a Rec 709-ish, which is the most aggressive one of them all. I would highly recommend you guys check this first one out. It's really nice. And again, this is pretty much everything. I mean, this is very easy to use. I haven't really dug into some of the menus that much in depth, but as you saw, this is a very easy camera to navigate. So with that said, let's take a look at some footage. So there you have it, Blackmagic Cinema Camera 4K unboxed with some footage, little walk through the menus. I understand this is not comprehensive at all, this was never meant to be that. I've only had this camera for a week, I'm learning the camera myself, just like any other new camera. It will take some time to get used to. I understand you guys have plenty of questions for it. Please use the comment section below. Also go on 4kshooters.net and use the comment section below the blog post. I will be monitoring that and answering as much as possible and as to the best of my ability. And if you guys, any of you guys out there already own this camera and have some tips or you know, any suggestions or how you use the camera, or you just want to share your experience, feel free to share that as well. And yeah, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to stay up to date with the future videos that I'll be releasing for this camera, consider subscribing. I do plan to use this camera as my main camera for the next 3 months and kind of put the C300 Mark II, 5D Mark IV and the GH5S sort of on the side. I mean, they're still great cameras, but it's mainly about this thing right now. You guys have a good day.